So today we are going to have a look at the media's reaction to the Brittany Higgins rape trial being abandoned because Brittany Higgins is mentally unstable and unable to go to court and to give evidence and to have the man who allegedly raped her, she's claiming is a danger to all women, put to jail. Instead, the man who she's claiming is a danger to all the women in society is now going to walk the streets free, all because Brittany Higgins is unable to go to court and have him put into jail, which is what many brave women who actually are brave, who do have my respect, who are raped or assaulted, they go to court. It's very hard to do, but they do it anyway. And they have that person who is a danger to society put into jail. But yeah, so the media's response, very, very expected. The ABC, the Project, all the extreme feminist media outlets said pretty much the same thing. This is proof. It's impossible to get rape convictions. We have to change the laws to make it easier to get convictions for rape. None of it's surprising. They talked about how this has been so hard on poor Brittany Higgins and how it's taken its toll and she suffered so much. None of that was surprising. The story that we're going to focus on today that I find the most hard to comprehend, how anybody could be this misguided and out of touch with society's views and reality, is Chris Kenny from Sky News. Now, this is a man, I really shouldn't be that surprised when you have a look at some of the guests and some of the people that he's promoted heavily over the years. The best example would be Shivani Gopal, who is an absolutely extreme feminist who has a website called The Remarkable Woman. This is a woman who believes in quotas. The gender pay gap is real. She believes in the patriarchy. She believes that Australia is a rape culture. Chris Kenny praises and supports this woman, has had her on his show multiple times. He's also a huge fan of Nicole Flint. He's of the view that the media have been, and other politicians have been, attacking her, trolling her for no reason at all, other than the fact that she's a conservative woman. He's a huge supporter of Catherine Deves. I think Chris Kenny might be an example of, he started his media career at the ABC. So you can take the boy out of the ABC, but you can't take the ABC out of the boy. So, this is a man who is meant to be a right-wing, hardcore conservative, and he promotes some of the most extreme feminists that you could ever see. When the day that Grace Tame won the Australian of the Year, he said it was well deserved. He's since changed his tune since Grace Tame decided to wage war on Scott Morrison. He's a Scott Morrison fan. So he never said anything negative about Grace Tame until Grace Tame started to attack his man, Scott Morrison, at which point he then started to critique Grace Tame a little bit. Mind you, still didn't call her out on her lies about between 20 and 30 times to nearly every day for 6 months. He's never called her out on claiming that her family was working class when her mother was a highly paid journalist reading the primetime news and her father was a professional cricketer. He's never called those lies out. But I think it's very, very, it says a lot. He's just completely out of touch with reality and how people think. So it's not none of that surprising, but let's get into what he was saying. He was saying that the only winners out of this were the journalists, which is, I think, is completely and utterly wrong. When you have a look at the facts, I think the losers out of this, the ones that some of them lost their jobs and their careers over their support for Brittany Higgins. Let's have a look at them. Now, the television show in Australia that's given Brittany Higgins the most support and promotion by an absolute mile is The Project. Now, just this week, their 4 top stars have all resigned at exactly the same time. I mean, how stupid does Channel 10 think that the Australian public is? That we are going to believe that 4 stars of The Project, all at exactly the same time, decided to resign. And that it had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that the ratings are absolutely horrendous and that this show, night after night after night, was finishing dead last in the ratings. It was literally losing to the ABC and the SBS. who were running shows on a much, much lower budget than what the project was, but they were still beating the project. Now, Lisa Wilkinson, for me, is the biggest loser out of this whole situation. This is a woman who was the highest paid journalist in Australia. She was on Channel 9 on a huge fee, on the number one breakfast show in Australia, an elite journalist. And Channel 10 thought that it was going to be worthwhile to outbid Channel 9 and make her the highest paid journalist in Australia. And remarkably, the show's ratings halved from the time that she took over. That's how bad it was. Now, the project was a rating success. This was one of Channel 10's greatest ever success stories. The project was it used to rate unbelievably well. It used to win its slot. Now it's coming dead last. The other losers in the media were clearly the ABC, who decided to give Brittany Higgins and Grace Tame an hour at the National Press Club. Now, of all the National Press Club addresses in the history of the National Press Club, this is the one that got the most criticism. And then we have the other show, which I would say was second to the project in that it was the show that was number 2 for support and promotion of Brittany Higgins. That's another show that was a huge rating success. It used to rate really, really well. A low-budget show that used to often outrate shows that were costing the networks much, much more money to put onto television. And since they've become obsessed with promoting people like Brittany Higgins and Grace Tame, their ratings have just fallen drastically. The other losers, I think, are the politicians. Anthony Albanese apologized to Brittany Higgins before it had gone to court. He received huge criticism for that. Scott Morrison did the same thing again, received huge criticism for that. Most Labor and most Liberal supporters or national supporters do not think that Brittany Higgins is a brave, inspirational woman. They definitely both lost votes out of their support for Brittany Higgins, as did the other MPs there's so many, I can't mention them all because I'll be here all night, who have thrown their support behind Brittany Higgins and called her an inspiration and brave, and so brave. She was very brave at the National Press Club, being asked easy questions by adoring members of the media and cheering and clapping politicians in the audience. She wasn't anywhere near as brave in court when she was being cross-examined and asked really hard questions. And her stories, the prosecution was just poking holes through her stories. She asked to have the court case ended early. The court case was ended early on her request. That's how brave Brittany Higgins is. And of course, now we're going to have a look at who the winners were here. Now, according to Chris Kenny, the winners were the journalists. So according to Chris Kenny, he believes that Brittany Higgins has not benefited, has not gained any social status, has not gained any money because of this allegation. Let's have a look at the facts. I'm going to start with it. The biggest winner has been the feminist movement. They wanted Brittany Higgins to not win this case and to not have Bruce Lehrmann sent to jail, because now they can say, see, here we go. This is evidence. This is proof. The odds are stacked against the victims of sexual assault and sexual violence. We need to change the rules to make it easier to put these people into jail. They did not want Lehrmann going to jail because they couldn't say that then. Now they can. So this is a huge victory for the feminist movement. They've still destroyed Bruce Lehrmann's career. This man will not get a job anywhere. This is a highly educated man, highly skilled man who had a very, very good job for the LNP, the Liberal Party coalition. He will never, ever work for that party ever again. He's a political advisor. He's not going to get any job in Australian politics. Absolutely no chance at all. He's going to struggle to get a job anywhere. He's going to likely now be unemployed forever. He lives in Canberra, for God's sake, with some of the highest rents in the world. He's going to struggle to find a place to rent He's been destroyed. Everyone now knows him as an accused rapist, who politicians believe is a rapist. The media thinks he's a rapist, have literally called him guilty, and because they believe Brittany Higgins. So, clearly the feminist movement is the winner. Bruce Lehrmann is a huge loser out of this. But the big winner, I think, the biggest group of winners is the feminist movement, because they can now have laws changed because of this. But the biggest individual winner by an absolute mile is Brittany Higgins. Let's go through what's happened since she made this allegation. She has made $325,000 from a book deal. $325,000. She's also done paid television interviews, multiple paid television interviews. Again, they would be for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she is also, which isn't being reported very much, which again says something about the feminist media's support for Brittany Higgins, because this fact goes against the narrative that this has been hard on Brittany Higgins and that she's suffering. She is signed on with Julia Gillard for a role in women's leadership. Now, I can't find what the wage for this is, but I will bet my bottom dollar, I guarantee you, she's earning far more in this feminist role than what she was earning working for the LNP, the Liberal Party coalition. I guarantee you she's doing less hours. It's far easier work. There's far less scrutiny. It's a far more secure job. So she's made hundreds of thousands of dollars selling her story. She's then received an easier job that pays more money. Now, she's apparently not up to going to court because she's so traumatized by what's happened. Just think about this, though. So she's not capable of going to court and putting her alleged rapist in jail and, protecting the public, society from this evil villain. But she is capable of going and working with Julia Gillard in women's leadership and earning a huge wage. She's capable. She's not so traumatized and depressed that she can't go to the National Press Club and give a stirring speech. She's not so traumatized and upset that she can't go and be interviewed by Lisa Wilkinson. The story does not add up. It really does not add up. And I think for me, this really does show if Chris Kenny truly believes that the only winner out of this is journalists, he is living so far from reality, it's not even funny. Now, I think if you watch Lisa Wilkinson's speech at the Logies, you get an idea of just how big a feminist echo chamber the Australian media is. Wilkinson made that speech. Not one person booed. Not one person heckled her. Not one person yelled out a negative comment. They all clapped and gave her a standing ovation. All the journalists there thought that was a great speech. They couldn't see a problem with it. They literally couldn't see a problem with it. That really, to me, sums up the Australian media and just how they have been taken over by these extreme feminists. And I think, sure, there's some who know it's nonsense, but they don't have the courage to call it out. And that is the big problem here. I'd love to know your thoughts. Am I missing anything? Who are the victims here? Who are the winners out of this whole situation, and who are the losers? Tell me who you think the winners are. Tell me who you think the losers are. Tell me who you think I'm wrong about, who I'm right about. Tell me who you think I've missed or forgotten. And again, I don't delete any comments. If you disagree with what I'm saying, I'm not going to delete your comment because I disagree with your view. You can attack my opinion. You can attack me. Again, I won't delete it. I don't block anyone. Unlike every single political party's YouTube channels, every single MP, they delete the comments, they block people. They don't want you to have your say. But on this channel, you can have your say. If you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If you think I'm right, tell me I'm right. If you've got an idea, put it in the comments. You won't be blocked. Your comment won't be deleted because this is a place where we don't believe in censorship, unlike the mainstream media and all the Australian political parties. I'm now going to leave you guys with Chris Kenny making this ridiculous statement on Sky News.
The only winners are the journalists who have revelled in this drama and competed for prizes. The damage for those directly involved will last way beyond any media cycle.